We will now be looking at our second Java project, which is called the ePotter chatbot. So let's have a look at the scenario.
I'm Ron, by the way, from Weasley.
I'm Harry Potter.
So it's true. I mean, do you really have the
what?
scar?
Oh,
Wicked.
anything off the trolley, dears?
No thanks. I'm all set. We'll take the lot. Whoa.
So that sums up Harry's meeting with Ron. ePotter chatbot scenario 2. Most people look for ways to entertain themselves even for a few minutes away from work or school life. People love a good laugh, something to make their day. This is where you come in. You will need to develop a program that acts as a chatbot to chat with users, asking them basic questions about their day, their favorite food, etc. The chatbot program should be able to tell users jokes as well. The main objective of the ePotter chatbot is to entertain users by creating fun educational discussions with users having a good relationship with them, just like how Harry Potter and Ron got along when they met the first time on a train. The program scenario breakdown to create this program will be the concepts that will be included in the program are number 1, the class name, number 2, the main method, which is public, static, void, main, string arguments, number 3, the scanner class to receive input from users, and number 4, the system.out.println statement to output messages to users. So let's get creating our second Java project for this scenario. Please open up your Replit again, and we're going to work on creating this project. Welcome back to Replit again. You're ready to create your second Java project. The first thing you need to do once you get your Replit account opened is to click on Create, and of course select the programming language, which is the template. So we're going to be using Java, so just type in Java, and the first option that comes up is the one you're going to select. Now the name of your project is going to be called ePotter Chatbot, so just write it as it is. So ePotter and then Chatbot. Once you're done, click on Create REPL. And now you're ready to program. So you normally would have something about REPL chat tab. You can just close that up. You don't need that. And you will see your main Java program shown. So again, the first thing we need to do is to import our utility package or import scanner. So we're going to be more specific with what we need to use, and we're definitely using scanner class again because we are going to be receiving input from the users and using that input to respond back to users. So what we're going to do, you already have your main class. Remember, you should not change the name of this main class. Leave it as it is, because when you tend to change the name of the main class, then it affects not allowing your program to run on Replit. You can create another class, of course, and that's not going to be affected if you give it another name, but the main class itself has to be there. So we're going to leave this name as main. We have our main method, as you can see already, implemented. We have a print statement, which we're going to delete as well. So we can delete what's inside of the quotation marks because we're not going to be printing hello world. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be importing our scanner class. So in the upcoming lessons of this course, you're also going to learn how to put in comments in Java, which is very important. And that will basically include comments about you, so information about you, your code, just like a very brief heading at the top of your code that just gives a brief information about you, your code objective or logic, and the date you created the code, the date you modified. This is something I normally tell my students to do. It just makes it look more official, and it's a standard way of making your code look nice. And if you were to share this code with someone else in the field, they would at least have an idea of what your entire code logic is. But we'll learn that in our upcoming lessons of this course. So first we're going to do import java dot util dot scanner. So we're particularly importing the scanner class, and so we're putting dot scanner. We can of course put import java dot util dot asterisk. Remember that that's another thing that we can actually do. And if we put dot asterisk, it means we're importing the entire utility package. But since we're just going to use the scanner class, then we're just going to import scanner class. And then we come into our main method and we create an object of our scanner class. We actually need two objects now because the point of the ePotter chatbot is to be able to create a chatbot that interacts with users by asking them questions about their day, their favorite activities, food, etc. So it's more conversational in the sense that we are going to have questions, for example, asking them about their age, where they would need to enter a number input. With such things, we would need, of course, to have a scanner object that would collect number-like inputs, as I've mentioned in the previous program that we created, which is the Grinch Morning Routine Diary. So we're going to be creating two scanner objects. We're going to create the first one to receive text input. I'm going to call it object. You notice I like to call my scanner objects or OBJ, but you can call them anything you want. So I'm going to say object, that's equal to new scanner, and then open parenthesis, and that's going to be system.in, and then close this with a semicolon, and I'll create a second scanner object, and I'm going to call this one number. You can call it anything you want. I just would urge you to give your scanner objects meaningful name based on what kind of inputs they're going to be receiving from the user. So this is the reason I gave this object number, because it will receive number input from the user. And then new scanner, and then open parenthesis again, and I'm going to go with system.in. And of course, I'm going to close this with a semicolon, and we're ready to go. So we've created our two scanner objects, and you notice again, there's this orange underline because we've not closed these objects. We're going to close them once we finish using them at the very end of our program. So what I would like to do is start off with a nice welcome message. So I'm going to put what I normally like to do, which you can omit putting. I've already mentioned this in my previous lesson. Again, you can drag your console to the right and drag your main Java program to the left just to give you a maximized space usage. So I'm going to put like dash, like hyphens. I just really like doing this just because it gives a nice outlook to my program when I do run it. And then after this line, I'm just going to come down and print a nice welcome message. So I'm going to go with the system.out.println, and I'm just going to be welcoming the user. So open parenthesis, and I'm going to go with hello and welcome. And this will just basically introduce ePotter, which is going to be the chatbot that's going to be chatting with users. So it's going to go with the whole thing saying, my name is ePotter, and I will be your chatbot today. So my name is ePotter, and I will be your chatbot today. Or I will be, I guess I could say it that way. I will be your chatbot for today. You can also say that. That would be a good way to start. And then I'll close this with a semicolon and then hit enter. So now ePotter has introduced himself. I'm going to, again, just basically put this line of random hyphens that I printed here. You can decide not to do this. You can do this with any other symbol on your keyboard. This is a mini kind of ASCII art that I'm putting into my program just to make it look good. So it's going to show this in the beginning. And then after I'm moving down to, now that ePotter has introduced himself as the chatbot that will be interacting with the user, we're going to now start asking the user for their name so we can get more personalized during this chat conversation. So we're just going to go with system.out.println. Remember, that's the statement to display anything you want on the console. And so we're going to be asking the user, what is your name? Okay. And then we'll put a question mark, come out of there, put a semicolon, hit enter. And then we have to declare a variable that's going to be storing user input. And so this variable will have a data type of string, and we'll call this variable username so it actually makes sense to what it's supposed to store, which is the name of the user. And then of course we're going to put equal. So the right scanner object that we're going to be using for text-like information from the user is going to be object. So we're going to say object.next line. And then of course close this with circular brackets, semicolon, and hit enter. So the user will provide their name at this point. And then after, we want to keep the conversation going. So we're going to ask them how old they are. So we're going to move on with another system.out.println statement. And we're going to be asking this question of how old are you? So I'm going to put the quotation marks and I'm going to say, how old are you? This is just going to make it more conversational and interesting. And you realize that I'm asking for age now, so I can't really receive a string data type input kind of, a string type of input. I need to receive number type input. So I'm going to use int, which you already learned in this lesson. And int is a data type that receives integers or whole numbers as inputs from the user. So if you're asking for age is a number, it's a whole number, it's not a decimal number. So we need to receive it with the right data type, and that's going to be int. And then of course the variable name I'm going to assign for this question will be age, because it's receiving age, and it's going to now be equal to number.nextInt. So don't forget to put nextInt, because that's the right scanner method that you normally would use whenever you're receiving int type of data from the users. I forgot to do the one thing I like to do, which is to put a line, the line that I was including here. Again, guys, you can forget doing this if you don't want to. This is just because I like to do it this way, just to indicate the gaps between the questions I'm asking and then the responses I'm getting from the users. I feel it's just going to make it look nicer. I could also give a gap. That's something I think is a very good idea as well. So I could give a space gap. So once E. Potter introduces himself, there's going to be a space gap asking the next question. So what you can do is come to the line after it says, hello and welcome, my name is E. Potter, I'll be your chatbot today. I'm going to come right after the line where I have these long lines of hyphens, and I'm just going to give an empty space print. So if you want to give an empty space, like a space between the system.out.print, which is this last line that I had for me on line 8, maybe for you it's line 7. If you want to give an extra space, just put a system.out.println and just leave it empty. And that means that there's going to be an extra space before it actually starts to ask what's your name. And I feel I would like to do that for every single question so that the questions don't look so close to each other and they kind of look on their own separate spaces. So here between what is your name and how old you are, I'm also going to give a space just like that. So you can just put a system.out.println statement that's pretty much empty. So that means it's just going to be a space. And then after that, we've asked for the age and we used int to receive such information because int receives number type information. Now we're going to go and make some comments because we want this to be as realistic as possible. So E. Potter is the chatbot and he gets to make conversations with the user. And so he gets to also respond based on their responses. And now we're asking them for age, and E. Potter could say something like, oh, I can imagine what it is like being that age, that kind of a thing. If the person says I'm 12 years old, these are general responses. E. Potter would say, I can imagine what it's like being 12 years old. And that's kind of the response we're going to do. So that's what we're going to write next up.